A new survey shows a majority of Canadians think Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should resign.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Well, the Liberals aren't laughing now as Trudeau's honeymoon is over with young Canadian voters. With no solutions and only empty promises, he's losing his most valuable voter group.
As always, please like the video and subscribe to the channel as it helps YouTube decide to push this video out to new viewers, which helps spread the truth of what is actually happening in Canadian politics. And if you want to support the channel, please drop us a super thanks or buy us a coffee or a pizza via the link in the description. Now let's get to it.
In front of his revamped cabinet, the Prime Minister acknowledged the affordability crisis is hitting younger Canadians especially hard.
To young Canadians, I want to say something. You've had 2 crucial years of adulthood dramatically interrupted by COVID.
By interrupted, you mean stolen, don't you? 2 years of their lives were stolen. 2 years of our toddlers' development stolen. 2 years of opportunity thrown in the trash.
The fact that you call this nothing but an interruption just illustrates that you have no concept of the damage that you've done. An interruption is a pause where you stop and then restart again. What this was being thrown to the ground and having dirt kicked at you for 2 years. That's what this was.
And then you were hit by global inflation and increased interest rates.
And to no one's surprise, you refused to take accountability by saying that they were hit with global inflation, like this was somehow a surprise that nobody could have predicted, which the Bank of Canada, who you are accountable for, had to skyrocket interest rates because of your overspending.
We owe it to you to take action.
The admission his government needs to do more comes after a recent poll found the Liberals trailing the Conservatives by 11% among millennials and 4% with Generation Z.
The Prime Minister appointed himself the Minister of Youth after he was elected in 2015 because of how important millennials were to the Liberal success, and that's true in 2019 and 2021.
Housing affordability is a major concern for younger Canadians, and more are turning towards Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre as he blames Trudeau for high housing costs.
The reason young people are showing their support for me is because they know that I can deliver affordable homes, more powerful paychecks, and lower costs.
I think we need to give Mr. Poilievre credit that he is tapping into the housing grief that a younger demographic feels, which has then given rise to a disillusion with democracy, and he's tapping into that anger.
The Liberals are promising to address affordability, but political analysts warn the results are lacking.
It is difficult, I think, when you're the incumbent and you have been in the helm this whole time. And there's a sense in which even if every single thing is not your fault, people are going to still be saying, yes, but you're the boss.
God, the spin that CTV is putting on this is really next level. We know the media is on the Conservative warpath, but come on. So now being disillusioned with democracy is supporting the Conservatives? Did everyone catch that seed that they tried to plant right there?
Well, judging by the polls, that seed is dead on arrival. And it's not just young voters that are turning on Trudeau either.
A new survey shows a majority of Canadians think Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should resign instead of running in another election. A new poll from Abacus Data shows 56% of those surveyed think the Prime Minister should step down ahead of another election. The same poll showing around a third of Liberal voters thinking the same. But Edmonton's only Liberal representative and Federal Minister of Jobs, Randy Boissonneau, supports his boss. He believes the only poll that matters is Election Day.
We said to people, look, just get through the forest, okay? Get through the forest, and things are going to be good. And guess what? We got through the forest, and there was a mountain, and that mountain was inflation.
Minister Boissonneau says the polls could look different a year from now, claiming his government is working on affordability. Political watchers say while much of the blame for low poll numbers lies on Canadians' frustrations with housing, affordability, inflation, and cost of living increases, it comes after almost a decade of Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister.
Friends may come and go, but enemies accumulate. And so, you've got a lot of accumulation of, I think, brand damaging initiatives, announcements that really have caught up with him.
You think? You can only make so many bad decisions for so long before people stop believing the crap that you're trying to sell them, and thank God for that. We keep asking when are Liberal voters going to wake up, and it seems like they finally have.
Yeah, I really think that reaction to the question by the CBC the other day was a huge mistake by Cabinet. For those that didn't see it, here's the clip.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry with CBC. Pierre Poilievre is blaming you for pretty much every problem facing the country, whether that's crime. Big laugh from the gallery. That's great.
Now, the interesting thing is that the media reported that there was a couple of housing experts that spent a lot of time with Trudeau's cabinet that day, providing them with concrete suggestions that they could announce immediately. But we've heard nothing from the Liberals on that. We've also heard nothing from the media about these experts either, as we haven't seen them on any newscast or any interviews. One might think that nobody bothered to speak with them at all.
Well, one would be wrong because they did give an interview, and our friends at CPAC recorded it. It's 20 minutes long, but there are two key messages that we took from this.
Canada needs to build 5.8 million homes, according to the CMHC. We estimate that 2 million of those will need to be purpose-built rental to address this crisis.
The messages I think we wanted to convey is a need for a national housing accord and an agreement between the levels of government, the private sector, the nonprofit sector, labor, and others to come up with a national strategy.
Do you feel that they were receptive to that? I mean, they haven't committed to any of your recommendations. They've called it a task list, but not committed to them yet. Did you feel that they were receptive to these?
I'll let Mike speak for himself, but my impression was this is an issue that the government is seized with. I think this is an issue all parties in Parliament are seized with, and I got a sense of impatience and a sense of urgency out of the government, whether or not they're willing to commit to anything at this point.
5.8 million homes are needed, like yesterday. And over a third of those are rentals. That's unreal.
And Trudeau wants to bring in another 500,000 people every year. That's insane.
As for the second part of that, so these two guys recommended that we need a national housing strategy. Seems like common sense to us. But when asked if they felt the government felt receptive to that, I don't know about you guys watching, but my gut feeling is that was a big fat no.
Yeah, that's a no for me too, and it should be obvious to everyone that they are going to ignore what these guys had to say because they've literally announced nothing other than to wait another 2 weeks to then chat with the rest of the Liberal Party. They spent who knows how many taxpayer dollars to have this quote-unquote retreat to tackle the housing and affordability crisis, only to announce nothing. Not one single solution.
Well, Canadians obviously feel the same way we do here at Northern Perspective because, I mean, look at the polls. These numbers are all current as of yesterday, so this is after the Liberal retreat fiasco. This poll is from Main Street Research and shows the Conservatives are up a huge 13 points on the Liberals. That's a lot, folks, and they aren't the only ones showing a large lead. Here's Abacus, which is known as a Liberal-friendly pollster, and they have the Conservatives up 12 points. It doesn't end there. The real bad news can be seen here in this demographic split graph. 33% of young adults are declaring to vote Conservative. That is huge, especially considering it's a demographic that normally votes Liberal.
I guess they don't like Trudeau and his cabinet laughing at them. And they don't like the lies and the gaslighting that he threw at them during the press conference the other day. On this next graph, we should all give a round of applause to the female Liberal voters as they are now aggressively starting to swing to Conservative voters, rounding this out at 35%. That's a really positive sign. And these numbers are very important, folks, because what it says is that Trudeau's power base is quite frankly evaporating under his feet. And if the Liberals don't do something quickly, they will have no choice but to call an election now. If they don't, they risk having no significant presence in the House come 2025, which leads us to the last graph. Over half of all Canadians, Liberal and non-Liberal alike, are stating that Trudeau should step down as Prime Minister. What I can tell you is that channels like ours and Clyde's and the rest of the pro-conservative channels out there, we have all been working really hard over the last year. When we see these metrics changing finally, it makes us feel like all the time and hard work is paying off. We've also been working hard on something else, and we hope to have an announcement on the next live stream, so stay tuned as we are working on something special to celebrate our impending 10,000 subscriber milestone. But I really hope that Trudeau is enjoying his milestone of literally doubling the amount of people that want him fired as Prime Minister of this country. Your people have turned on you, Trudeau, and it's time to put your ego aside and step down because your reign as Canada's most destructive Prime Minister in history is at an end.